Hey, John Felt here. This is the Blue Water Outlook Weekly Weather Briefing for March 15th, 2025. Well, we had an action-packed day yesterday across many parts of the nation, and it looks like today is going to be very active as well. Let's get started right away. Well, first of all, there's a high risk of severe in this area. Red is moderate risk, and high risks are very, very rare. You might not get one an entire season, so this represents a significant outbreak of severe storms, including long-track tornadoes. So keep that in mind. And then it shifts to the east on Sunday, but not as nearly as widespread. The other thing I want you to keep your eye on is the risk for excessive rainfall here, and that could produce flash flooding and flooding, especially in that area of red. Okay, so right now what we have is this very significant spring storm bringing all sorts of different variety of action, high winds, hail, tornadoes, and all sorts of different action. And you can see it here, all the storm reports yesterday alone. This orange is high winds. You might have heard of these trucks being blown over in the Texas Panhandle. Then as we went east into that moderate risk of severe, we had hail reports, high wind due to thunderstorms, and tornado reports. A little bit of everything in this area here. High winds in this area. Then in the cold air we had some snow. Now as far as precipitation last week, look at these tracks here. Here's a sign of spring when we start to see precipitation in these tracks. You can see southwest to northeast. These are supercells, and some heavy rain down in Florida, and then in the west coast heavy rain as well. In the middle part of the nation, fairly quiet other than those severe storms. Now, snow last week, a little bit of snow up here. That's going to melt very quickly. Snow that falls this time of the year usually does melt pretty quickly. As far as temperatures last week, well, this is current temperatures. Well, you can certainly find the front here. To the west of that front, much more winter-like. To the east of that front, more spring-like. And that's what we get in early spring in March. It could feel more like winter. It could feel more like spring. Sort of jumps back and forth. Having said that, last week was spring-like in many areas, especially areas that are typically pretty cold in early spring. Red being 10 to 15 degrees above normal for this time of year. And the warmest temperatures of the week made it into the 80s in this brown and 70s in the green. So really felt nice last week if you were looking forward to spring. So right now, dew points right behind that front I outlined with temperature, much drier air in this region, and then this is where dew points are pooling in the 60s, and that's given us signs of where the severe storms will be occurring. Now, as far as flooding goes, this could be the time of year when we're looking at spring flooding on our main stem Mississippi, and it's really quiet this year. The Ohio River, Tennessee, and parts of the southeast, some minor flooding, but overall it's pretty quiet for this time of year, and looks like the Ohio, Tennessee River valleys, maybe some concern on flooding with that excessive rain this week, but other than that, it looks pretty quiet. Let's take a look at St. Louis here, for example, well below flood stage, and matter of fact, getting pretty low. We've got to go in parts of the Ohio, Evansville, a little bit of a bump here, but again, like I said, pretty quiet. Okay, so let's look at the forecast. And right now we have this big dip in the jet stream, and that's bringing the colder air into the west and the central U.S. But as we go through the week, it gradually diminishes, and by next weekend, more of a zonal flow, west to east, and that lets temperatures warm up again, especially in week 2. So here we go as far as 5-day chunks of temperature. This is that dip in the jet stream, so we have the cold west and the milder east, and then gradually we begin to warm things up as we get in towards the latter part of March. Okay, so that's temperature. Let's talk about rain and snow. Here's our rain and snow, and it looks like the Pacific Northwest really is going to be getting hit again this week with heavy precipitation, snow at higher elevations, rain at the lower elevations, and then this area right here for excessive rain. So if you're in this area, be alert for flash flooding, urban flooding, and some significant rises on tributaries. Let's talk about snow. Remember that area of 10 to 15 above normal? Well, it melted almost all the snow. We have very little snow. This will go pretty quick. And this time of year, like I said, anything that does fall will probably melt very quickly. And this is the snow this week. Parts of Minnesota, other areas of the Midwest, upper Midwest, maybe a little bit of snow. Okay, so let's look out at week 2, and most of the nation to some degree above normal, and there's your precipitation. Now, one of the things you hear a little bit what I'm looking at, I'm always looking at sort of the trends long term, and I've been putting out some information, and I'm seeing a lot of it about some really unusually warm, unusually dry conditions. And so you'll be hearing me talk about that, but you're already beginning to see this in the Southwest. Look at this, unusually warm, unusually dry. So I think I'll be talking about that quite a bit as we go forward through the spring into the summer. Okay, again, to end the briefing, keep alert for severe storms and excessive rain over this weekend, today and into tomorrow. That's this week's briefing. Take care.